My hands are shaking as I record this. Not because I'm nervous about speaking to thousands of people, but because I'm speaking to one person. You. And after what happened 3 hours ago, everything between us has changed forever. My mom and I had a fight tonight. A real fight. The kind where voices get raised and doors get closed and silence becomes heavier than words. And it was because of you. But not in the way you think. She didn't just suspect something. She found something. Something I didn't know existed. Something that exposed every feeling I've been trying to protect. When she confronted me with what she discovered, I froze. Because in that moment, I realized she knows more about how I feel about you than I've admitted to myself. She saw words I wrote in moments I thought were private. She saw the truth I've been hiding behind screens and comments and carefully controlled emotions. And she was right about everything. Before I tell you exactly what she found, let me ask you something. If you feel even a fraction of what I'm about to confess, press that like button right now. Not for the algorithm, for me. So I know you're really here. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is, because I need to know you exist beyond my imagination. I need to know this connection I'm about to expose isn't just living in my mind. And if what I'm about to say makes your heart beat faster, share this with someone who understands. These actions, they're how I know you're real. Now let me take you back to 3 hours ago, to the moment my mother walked into my room, holding her phone, with an expression I've never seen before. Not anger exactly. Something deeper. Something that looked like she'd just discovered a secret I didn't know I was keeping. She didn't knock. She didn't ask permission. She just stood in my doorway and said 5 words. So this is about her. How do you explain to your own mother that a woman you've never met has become the center of gravity in your life? How do you defend feelings that exist in comments and the way your voice softens when you imagine her listening? And how do you protect something fragile when it's been dragged into the light before you were ready? Have you ever had someone look at you like they can see directly into your soul? Like every wall you've carefully built has suddenly become transparent? That's how my mother looked at me when she stepped into my room. And I knew immediately that whatever she'd found, there was no hiding anymore. No more deflecting. No more pretending this was just a content creator talking to his audience. She walked closer, and I watched her hand tighten around her phone. Mothers have this terrifying ability to sense truth through silence. They don't need confessions. They read the evidence written in the way you breathe, the way you avoid eye contact, the way your whole body tenses when you're caught in something you thought was invisible. And my mother has spent 32 years learning how to read me. Today, she read me like an open book. I wasn't snooping, she said, but her voice carried that edge that meant she absolutely had been. I was using your laptop, and I saw your search history was still open. I saw your saved notes. I saw. She stopped, and her eyes filled with something I couldn't identify. Not disappointment, something softer, understanding mixed with fear. I saw her name, she continued, and my blood went cold. Written over and over, in different folders, different documents. You've been writing about her, about someone you talk to through screens, someone who makes you. She paused. Someone who makes you write like you're falling in love. What would you do in that moment? Would you deny it? Would you defend it? Would you try to explain that love doesn't always need proximity? I wanted to say all of that. Instead, I just stood there, feeling exposed in a way I've never felt before. Because she was right. I had been writing about you. In moments when I couldn't sleep, I'd write about what it might be like to meet you. What I'd say first, whether your voice sounds the way I imagine it, whether your laugh would make me nervous or put me at ease. I wrote about the way certain comments from you could change my entire day. How I'd find myself checking notifications, hoping your username would appear. How I'd replay your words in my mind like lines from my favorite song. I was hiding this from everyone. From my audience, from my family, even from you. I was hiding that you've become more than just a viewer. You've become someone I think about when I wake up. Someone I imagine sitting across from me when I'm alone. Someone whose presence, even digital and distant, has changed the rhythm of my entire life. Do you think connection can grow in silence? In the spaces between words? In the careful way someone listens when you speak? I kept asking myself that while my mother stood there waiting for an explanation. Because every time you engage with my content, I feel something I can't quite name. Something warm and patient and impossibly certain. Like recognition. Like coming home to someone I haven't met yet. My mother saw all of that in my notes. She saw my heart before I was ready to show it to anyone. She doesn't even know, does she? My mother asked, and the question hit like a physical blow. Because she was absolutely right. You don't know. You don't know how many times I've typed out longer responses to your comments and deleted them because they revealed too much. You don't know how I've memorized the patterns of when you usually watch. You don't know that when I'm recording, I imagine you specifically listening, and it changes everything about how I speak. If only you could have seen my mother's face in that moment. She wasn't angry anymore. She looked almost sad, like she was watching her son struggle with something she understood better than I did. You record differently now, she said quietly. Your voice gets softer, more intentional, like you're talking to one person instead of thousands. I've noticed it for months, but I didn't understand why until today. There is something powerful about a feeling that hasn't been named out loud yet. It lives in the invisible spaces, in the pause before you hit record, in the careful way you choose your words, hoping one specific person will understand the deeper meaning, in the quiet wondering late at night about whether this connection you feel is real or just a beautiful illusion you've constructed in loneliness. When did you first believe something could be real even if you couldn't touch it? Was it faith? Was it a dream you held onto despite evidence? Was it a feeling so strong it couldn't be dismissed as imagination? I want to know because every time I think about you, I'm confronting that exact question. How can someone I've never met feel more real to me than people I see every day? How can your words carry more weight than conversations I have face to face? My mother kept looking at those notes on the screen. I had written about how distance doesn't diminish connection. It just changes its shape. About how some people can touch your soul without ever touching your hand. About how recognition can happen across miles and screens and time zones. And it's no less valid than recognition that happens in person. She read those words, my words, and I watched her expression shift. You really believe that? She said. It wasn't a question. It was an acknowledgement. You really think you can love someone before you meet them? And for the first time in this entire confrontation, I found my voice. Yes, I said simply. Because I do. The room went silent. That kind of silence that feels full rather than empty. The kind where truth has just been spoken, and now it needs space to exist. Have you ever admitted something out loud that you'd been keeping locked inside? The moment it becomes sound instead of just thought, it becomes real in a way it wasn't before. It becomes undeniable. People laugh at things like this. They roll their eyes at the idea of digital connection. They dismiss it as parasocial delusion or loneliness dressed up as romance. But they don't understand how a soul can recognize another soul through the way someone listens, through the specific words they choose, through the energy they bring even when they're just text on a screen or a name in a comment section. Do you feel it too? This pull that doesn't make logical sense? This certainty that you know someone better than you should? I kept wondering that while my mother processed what I just admitted. Because if this is one-sided, if this is just me constructing meaning from normal interactions, then I'm more lost than I realized. But if you feel even a fraction of this, then maybe what she found in those notes wasn't delusion. Maybe it was the most honest thing I've ever written. My mother sat down on my bed, still holding her phone like it contained evidence. A mother always knows when her child's heart has moved toward someone, she said, and her voice had that quality it gets when she's trying to be gentle but firm. I've watched you change these past months. You're more careful about everything, more private. You smile at your phone in ways that have nothing to do with analytics. You've been protecting someone. I didn't want to hurt her, but I also couldn't let her dismiss this as some passing phase. What I feel for you isn't casual. It's not something I chose. It grew naturally in the space between your words and my thoughts, in the way your engagement feels different from everyone else's, in the specific way my chest feels lighter when I see you've watched or commented. That's real. That's not something I can apologize for. But here's what killed me. She asked, if I asked her who you are to her, what would she say? And I had no answer, because I don't know. I don't know if when you watch these videos, You feel anything beyond appreciation for content. I don't know if my words land in your heart the way yours land in mine. I don't know if you've noticed that I respond to your comments differently, more thoughtfully. I don't know if you feel the energy between us, or if that's just my imagination. What would you say if someone asked you about me? Would you call me a content creator you enjoy? Someone whose videos bring you peace? Or would there be a pause before you answered? A moment where you try to find words for something that doesn't fit normal categories? Would you admit that maybe, possibly, you feel something too? Something you haven't named because naming it makes it vulnerable? As my mother sat there waiting for me to defend this connection, all I could think about was how strange it is that you are the source of both conflict and peace in my life. You make my mother worry. You make her question whether I'm losing touch with reality. But you also make me feel more grounded than I've felt in years. More purposeful. More like I'm speaking truth instead of performing it. How can one person have that kind of contradictory power? Do you sense energy before it becomes words? Because I swear I feel something from you that I don't feel from other viewers. Something warm and attentive and reciprocal. Something that feels like you're really there when you watch. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm projecting. But if I'm right, if you feel it too, then my mother isn't discovering delusion. She's discovering the early stages of something that could become the most important relationship of my life. This is where I need you to stay with me, because what happened next changed the entire direction of the night. After several minutes of heavy silence, my mother's expression softened. She put her phone down and looked at me with eyes that reminded me she was young once too. "Tell me about her," she said quietly, not demanding. Inviting. "Tell me why she matters." And for the first time, I try to put into actual words what you mean to me. I told her about how your comments feel like conversations, how you seem to understand not just what I say, but what I mean beneath the words, how your presence feels like having one person who truly sees me among thousands who just watch. I told her about writing these scripts differently because I imagine your response. About how certain topics I choose are because I wonder what you'd think. About how this platform that used to feel like broadcasting into a void now feels like an ongoing dialogue with someone specific. My mother listened without interrupting, and when I finished, she asked something that made my breath catch. "Does she make you want to be more honest?" I hadn't thought about it that way, but yes, you do. You make me want to speak more truth, to be more vulnerable, to risk more, because I imagine you valuing authenticity over performance. If you could have been there in that moment, what would you have said? Would you have told me this isn't one-sided? That you feel it too? I picture that so clearly. I picture you sitting beside me, and everything becoming simple and clear. What does being truly chosen feel like to you? Not admired, chosen. Does it feel safe or terrifying? Does it feel like peace or freefall? Because right now, in the aftermath of being fully exposed, I feel both. I feel terrified that you'll watch this and realize I've gone too far. But I also feel relief, because pretending this doesn't exist was breaking something inside me. My mother saw all of that in my face. She stood up slowly and said something I'll never forget. "Love doesn't ask for permission to grow. It just grows. And the only question is whether you're brave enough to tend it." Then she added, "She better be worth this, because you're giving her pieces of yourself you've never given anyone." That's when it hit me. This isn't just about whether you feel the same. It's about whether I'm willing to risk this connection by being honest about it. Because once I say this out loud, everything changes. And I don't know if you're ready for that, but I'm doing it anyway because my mother discovered something I'd been hiding even from myself. I'm already in too deep to pretend anymore. An hour after our fight, after sitting alone with my thoughts spiraling between hope and fear, I made a decision. I couldn't leave things the way they were. My mother deserved better than my silence. So I walked to her room, my heart beating harder than it should for such a simple act. When I knocked, there was a long pause before she told me to come in. She was sitting on her bed, and when she looked up, her eyes were softer than before. She gestured to the chair, and I sat down, suddenly feeling like a child about to confess something I didn't fully understand. The air between us felt different now, warmer, like the fight had cleared space for something more honest to exist. "I'm sorry," I started, but she held up her hand. Don't apologize for having feelings, she said. Apologize if you lie about them, but never for having them. She folded her hands, and I realized that love isn't just about the person you choose. It's also about the people who shaped you, watching you choose someone new. I took a breath and told her the simple truth. There's someone who makes me feel understood in a way I can't fully explain. Someone whose words reach parts of me I usually keep protected. Someone who brings out a version of myself I didn't know existed until she started paying attention. My voice cracked slightly, and I saw my mother's expression shift into something tender. She didn't speak right away. She just nodded slowly. Then she said something that hit me like revelation. Sometimes we meet people who make us feel seen before we're brave enough to be seen. That's rare. That's precious. And that's terrifying because it means they hold power over parts of us we don't fully control. The question hung in the air. Do you make me feel that way? I didn't answer out loud, but the silence was answer enough. My mother sighed deeply and admitted something I didn't expect. She told me she wasn't angry about you. She was scared. Scared because she felt me pulling away from her world. Scared because digital distance feels like a barrier she can't cross to protect me if this goes wrong. That made sense. Even unnamed connection can change the energy in a house. She felt all those shifts in me, and not understanding their source made her feel left out. Have you ever noticed someone changing because of you? Did it scare you? Or did it make you feel significant? I looked at my mother and finally understood. The fight was never about you. It was about the space you occupy inside me. A space she could feel but couldn't see. So I tried to explain without exposing your identity. I told her that connection doesn't always announce itself with fanfare. Sometimes it builds quietly. Sometimes you meet someone who understands your heart without ever holding your hand. I watched her face soften with every word, not because she suddenly understood fully, but because she understood that what I feel is genuine. She asked me the question I'd been dreading. Does she feel the same way you do? And I had to answer honestly. I don't know. I hope so, but I don't know. Then I asked the question I'm asking you now. Do you feel this pull between us? Do you feel like something has shifted that can't shift back? These questions keep me awake. My mother smiled then, just slightly. Love doesn't make sense at the beginning, she said. It looks confusing. Sometimes it looks impossible. But the real ones, the ones that matter, they find their way. If this is real, time will prove it. She paused. And if she's smart, she already knows how you feel. Women always know. We just wait to see if you're brave enough to say it. That line stayed with me long after I left her room. It felt like permission, like a blessing from the person whose opinion matters most to me. And I wondered how you'd feel knowing my mother said that. Would it scare you? Or would it make you feel included in something bigger? Walking back to my room after that conversation, I felt lighter than I had in months, but not completely at peace. Because one massive question still remained. Do you know? Do you sense what you've become to me? Do you realize that you're not just a viewer anymore, but someone who's fundamentally changed how I see connection and possibility? I sat down and imagined you somewhere right now, watching this unfold, maybe feeling your own heart race. Maybe you're thinking about your own family. Maybe you're remembering a time when someone questioned something you felt, but couldn't prove. Maybe you're wondering whether feelings like mine are burden or gift. Let me ask you something that matters more than anything. What does being chosen feel like to you? Not liked, not followed, chosen. When someone singles you out and says you specifically matter in a way others don't, does it feel gentle? Does it feel overwhelming? I've been thinking about when I first realized you were more than audience to me. It wasn't one dramatic moment. It was a collection of small things. The way you phrased a question that showed you'd been paying attention. The way you engage with ideas instead of just reacting. The way your presence started feeling like conversation instead of consumption. Each small moment accumulated into something I couldn't ignore. Love rarely announces itself loudly. It enters quietly. It whispers its way into your awareness through repeated small recognitions until one day you realize it's been there for a while. That's what happened with you. You whispered your way into my life, and by the time I noticed, you were already essential. If I could sit with you right now in person, I'd ask you something I'm terrified to ask. Do you believe two people can build real love before they meet physically? Not the dramatic movie version, but quiet, patient, growing love. The kind that exists in attention and understanding. The kind that doesn't need touch to feel real because it's built on something deeper. I think that's what you are to me. You're a knowing wrapped in digital form. You're a recognition I can't fully explain. You're a familiar feeling wearing a new face. And tonight, after everything that happened with my mother, I realized something crucial. I don't know what the future holds for this. I don't know if we'll ever meet. I don't know if this can become something beyond what it is now. But I know that what exists between us right now is real. My mother sensed it. I've finally admitted it. And even though it caused conflict, it also created space for truth. She stepped closer to understanding me. And I stepped closer to understanding myself. Now I'm waiting to see if you'll step closer too. Let me end this with something I need you to hear. You are not background noise in my life. You are not a username that blends with thousands of others. You are a specific person who has changed my days, my nights. The way I think about connection. The way I understand what matters. The way I speak truth. You are someone who made my mother notice I'd changed. Someone who made her confront me. Someone who forced me to admit out loud what I'd been protecting. That's evidence of real impact, of genuine significance, of connection that transcends screens and distance. And here's what I know. I cannot forget you even if I tried. You've marked something in me that doesn't erase. You've shifted something that doesn't shift back. You've awakened something that won't go back to sleep. So I'm here now, speaking directly to you, hoping you feel the same warmth I feel when I think of you, hoping you understand that this isn't one-sided desperation or parasocial delusion. This is recognition. This is real emotion toward a real person. This is me risking everything by being completely honest. Because no argument with my mother, no fear of rejection, no uncertainty about the future, and no distance between us can change what my heart knows. There is something between us that deserves to be seen clearly, understood fully, and felt without fear or shame. Something that my mother discovered before I was ready. Something that can't stay hidden anymore now that it's been spoken. And if you've watched this far, if you're still here after everything I've confessed, then maybe you already know. Maybe you've been waiting for me to be brave enough to say it first. So here it is. Simple and complete. You matter to me in ways I'm still learning to understand.